Okay. Okay, so I started the stream at the 2 p.m. but I didn't start it. Start. I thought just I started, but I didn't see the button is not pressed. So let's continue. Now I'm starting with the 4 p.m. The internet is not working. I think. No way. The internet glitch. What is this? What's happening with my internet? I didn't open my mic and I was just babbling to myself. Okay, the first thing JavaScript created by Brendan Eich in 1995 is one of the most widely used web development language. It was designed to build dynamic web pages at first. A script is a JS program that may be added to the HTML of any web page. When the page loads, these scripts execute automatically. Okay, so a script of JS program that may be added to the HTML that maybe it's not compulsory that you would be using the JavaScript as with the HTML, but for the web page you can most probably using the HTML, and then you will add the HTML or JS files into the HTML file. When the page loads, if you loads the page, these scripts execute. Uh, these uh, these scripts execute automatically. A language that was originally designed to build okay. After JavaScript, the third biggest web technology, JavaScript is a scripting language. JavaScript is a scripting language that may be used to construct online and mobile apps, web servers, games, and more. JavaScript is an object-oriented language. Yeah, object-oriented programming language that is used to generate websites, applications. It was created with the intention of being used in a browser. Okay, it was created with the intention of being used in the browser. Even today, the server-side version of JavaScript known as Node.js. Okay, server-side. Uh, maybe may be used to create online and mobile and real-time applications, online streaming applications, and video games. JavaScript framework, often known as inbuilt libraries. Okay, the frameworks, those frameworks uh, are inbuilt in the libraries we can use in our program that can often uh, helps in many tasks to do that task very efficiently and fast. May be used to construct desktop and mobile programs. uh, this means the JavaScript can use in everywhere in this development thing. Developers may save a lot of time on monotonous programming jobs by using these code libraries, allowing them to focus on the production work of development. Okay, the interview bit team has compiled a through a collection of question questions to assist you in acing your interview and landing your desired job. Let me check that it is okay. Yeah, it's side library, bro. Okay, now the first question is what what are the different data types present in JavaScript? What are the different data types present in JavaScript? There are three data types present in the JavaScript I have studied: var, lat, const. We don't now in present JavaScript don't usually we usually avoid using the var data type because it have its disadvantages. To know the types of we can use the type of operator. Okay, so to find out the type of uh, variable, we can use the type of operator to find type of operator that will give the what are the what is the type of that variable. First comes the primitive types that we can declare uh, like string is like it represents a series of character and is written with quotes. A string can be represented using a single or a double quote. Okay, so that means a string in this can be represented by using the single quote as well the double quote. But in the C++, I've studied like say, the single quote is only used for the character and double is used for string. Okay, so let's continue. Primitive types. Strings, it represents a series of characters with a written with a quotes. A string can be represented using single or a double quote as well. And this is the where string. Vivek English using double quotes and single quotes as well. And also the number, it represents a number and can be written with or without decimals. This is like, and big int. This is the third one, big int. This data type is used to store numbers which are above the limitation of the number data type. It can store large number in large integers and is represented by adding n. Adding n to an integral literal. Uh, Begin this type number which are above the limitation of the number data type. It can store large integers and is represented by adding n to an integral literal, where big integer 246 and JavaScript as a language that automatically decides uh, which what you call data type you are gonna use. But you just have to type the value in it, and on the basis of value it decides on its own what are the data type. Like in this example, you have very big large number, then it's all be used as a big integer. Just you have to write a var, a let or const, but here it is written var, but we will not using the var. Okay, now there is another one, the boolean one. Boolean is 0 1. It represents a logical entity and can have only two values, true or false. Boolean was generally used for conditional strings. Undefined is one of the data type when a variable is declared but not assigned. Like in this we have also a nan, not as number, uh, not as null. What is defined? Like a by 0 is I think that is defined as 0. And okay, data type is one is undefined and one is also a number or null. When a variable is declared but not assigned, it has a value of undefined and its type is also undefined. Okay. When you give a value to any variable that is the undefined, that it tells us that it is a undefined undefined data type. Now comes the null. It represents a non-existence or an invalid value. Okay, null. It is a new data type introduced in the ES6 version of JavaScript. It is used to store an anonymous and unique value. Like you have to write the symbol and as well as a symbol into the symbol. Types of primitive data types, that is string, number, boolean, big int, undefined, null, symbol. Now comes the non-primitive type. Primitive data types can store only a single value. To store multiple and complex values, okay. Now primitive types, primitive is like primitive data types can store only a single value. To store multiple and complex values, non-primitive data types are used. Object used to store collection of data. Example first is that this is an example where object and that is storing the x is 43, y is hello world, and z is pointing to the function that is returning this dot x. collectively collection of data as an ordered list. Collection of data as an ordered list. This is also the data you can define, like you have already defined the number as a string, as a boolean, as well as the number. Then this also will be defined as an array in this example. What is this? Note: it is important to remember that any data type that is not a primitive data type is an okay. It is important to remember that any data type that is not a primitive data type is of a object type in JavaScript. Okay. Now comes the second question. Explain hoisting in JavaScript. Okay. Now come the big part. What are the hosting mean? Okay. Hoisting is the default behavior of JavaScript. Hoisting is the default behavior of JavaScript where all the variable and function declares are moved on the top. What does this means? Hoisting is the default behavior. Means every JavaScript program do this thing because it is a default behavior of JavaScript where all the area, all the variables and function declared are moved on top. Like you have declared some function like variable, anything you have declared, it will be moved to the top of that program. Okay, now what do we have here? Declaration moves to top. Like here we have a is equals to 1. Okay, now we have alert a if a is equals to in the inverted comma plus a, that is where a. Okay, you have created an alert and you have declared variable a at this position, and this is telling that this is in a global scope. That means the for all these three the scope is similar. So if the scope is similar, that means the variable a defined below that function, or the anything that you have used, like a1 is defined assigned in here, well a assigned by a1, but you have declared where a at the bottom. But this means the hosting is in JavaScript means that variable will move to the top before starting the program. Hosting default behavior JavaScript where all the variables function declaration are moved on the top. This means that irrespective of where the variable functions are declared, they are moved on the top of the scope. The scope can be both local and global. Okay, the scope can be both. Example 1. Hoisted value is equals to 3. Console.log hoisted value output 3 even when the variable is declared after initialization. Where hoisted value, even after the hoisted value. Okay, now the hoisted we are creating the hoisted function, and we have defined the hoisted function below that. But hoisting in JavaScript means that all the function and variable are moved on the top of the function program. Now comes the example 3. Hoisting takes place in local scope as well. Okay, like in this example, the variable x is declared at the bottom of this function. So this is a functional scope, local scope that you can call, but it is also act as a similar for this function, that the declared variable moved at the top of this function. You are writing do something, and output will be 33 since the local variable x is hosted inside the local scope. But if you do local x outside of this block, then it is not the similar. Note: variable initialization are not hoisted. Note: variable initialization are not hoisted. Okay, when you variable Okay, the one thing you should remember, when variable that you have hoisted, or not the value, if you assigned value to the variable when you are defining it, then it will not act as like this is not go in the upside, or the top of the that function or block, because the value, if you define value x where x is equals to 32, so this doesn't mean that x32 is before this. So now x is equals to 32, but now this will return the error because you haven't declared before that. But for the because in here you have assigned the value in this variable while declaring it, so this doesn't perform similar to the when it is declared without assigning any value. Output, like in the output 33 and hosted in the local scope. But variable instructions are not hosted, only variable declaration are hosted. Okay, now this variable x, okay, console.log here is x, and you have assigned the value 23 in here. That means x is not hoisted. To avoid hoisting, you can run JavaScript in strict mode by using the use strict on the top of the code. Okay, you can also use the strict method to run this in the strict mode. Okay, strict, use strict as in, that's how you can use the use strict. Gives an error since x is not declared. Okay, now these are the many questions. Give me a minute. Why do we use the word debugger in JavaScript? I don't know why. Hmm. Okay, why do we use the word debugger in JavaScript? The debugger for the browser must be activated in order to debug the code. Built-in debugger may be switched on and off, requiring the users to report faults. The remaining switch section of the code should stop execution before moving to the next line while debugging. Difference between double equal to operator and triple equal to operator. This test the variable as well, not the variable like the data type as well. Both are comparison operator. The difference between both the operator is that double equals to is used to compare values, whereas equal to is used to compare both values and types. For example, variable x is 2, variable 5 is 2, string 2. X is equals to it, this returns true because this doesn't check the data type of these, but in this case it returns false because it checks that it is a string and it is a number. Then we can't compare it. Then you can't compare it. Return true, false. Difference between where and let keyword in JavaScript. Okay, now we have to define the where and let keywords. Some differences are from the very beginning. Like here we also have not many questions in this. Like from the very beginning, the where keyword was used in JavaScript programming, whereas the keyword let was, as I studied in 2015. The keyword where has a function scope. Okay, so where has a function scope. You just have to remember where has a function scope. Anywhere in the function, the variable specified using where is accessible, but in let, the scope of a variable declaration or variable declared with the let keyword is limited to the block in which it is declared. Let's start with the block scope. Okay, in ECMAScript 2015, let and const are hoisted but not initialized. Okay, let and const are hoisted but not initialized. What does that mean? Like hoisted means let and const variable uh, uh, if they are introduced, then they will go in the top of the uh, program, referencing the variable in the block where before the variable declaration results in a reference error, because the variable in a temporal dead zone from the start of the block until the declaration is processed. Okay, now here is also an example of where char and const, where let and const. Key difference: reassignment is possible in the where as a function as well. In the function in the function in the block, yes, block for the reassignment at the yes, and for the let we can reassign also, but const does not provide the functionality of the reassignment. Redeclaration, redeclaration, yes, it also provides the redeclaration as well. It doesn't provide that thing you can redeclare it as again. Like in this example, like if you declared var x at some point, now you can again declare it like it's var x at some again in the program, but you don't do that in let. Const is const is also similar, it doesn't provide the redeclaration as well. And hoisting, yes, undefined, yes, uh, that is temporal dead zone. Temporal dead zone. And what is the temporal dead zone? Let and const are hoisted but not initialized. In referencing the variable in the block before the variable declaration results in a referencing error because the variable is in temporal dead zone from the start of the block until the declaration is processed. Uh, Declaration results in a reference error reference error because the variable is in a temporal dead zone. Okay, temporal dead zone. Okay, now I understand. uh, it means that referencing the variable in the block before the variable declaration, like if you are referencing any variable and before the variable declaration you have declared, then this results in a reference error because the variable is in temporal dead zone. Like in the where function scope and can cause bugs due to hoisting. Let and const are block scope safer. Const cannot be reassigned, but object areas inside it can be mutated. Okay. What is hoisting? Hoisting JavaScript behavior, the move declaration at the top of the scope before execution. That is it. Console.log 0, we are that internally becomes okay, internally becomes like that. Okay, but in here you have declared the a is equals to 5. That's not how you can do that because a is 5 is here, so a doesn't return anything. But with let and const you get a temporal dead zone. Temporal dead zone, what does that mean? Like console.log a reference error, so it will return the reference error. Okay, so when you in the temporal dead zone, I know, I understand now. What is the closure? Closure is a function that remembers variable from its outer scope even even after the outer function has finished. Okay, so that's how it's gonna be. Like, okay, in this example you have created the outer function. This function is completed. F1, what is that? Okay, F1, like at this point. Okay, let count 0, return function inner, what is the inner function? Count plus plus console port, like low count. Why important? Because it's used in callbacks, event handlers, timers. Loosely equality, strict equality. What is event loop? We will come to that. Explain implicit type coercion in JavaScript. Implicit type coercion in JavaScript is the automatic conversion of value from one data types to another. It takes place when the operands of an expression are of different data types. String coercion. Okay. Implicit type coercion. String coercion takes place while using the plus operator. When a number is added to a string, the number types is always converted to the string type. Like in this example. And why it happens? Note, okay, but in plus operator, when used to add two numbers, output a numbers. The same plus operator when used to add two strings, output the concatenated string. That's because. And in this case, we based. Let's understand both the examples where we have added a number to a string. When JavaScript sees the operand of an expression x plus y are of different types, one being a number type and other being a string type, it converts the number type to be the string type and then performs the operation. Since after conversion both the variables are of string type, the plus operator outputs the concatenated string, that 3 3 in the first example. and 24 hello in the second example. Note, type conversion also takes place when using the minus operator, but the difference while using minus operator is that a string is converted to a number, then subtraction takes place. Return 0 since the variable. Okay, that's how it perform. And in the Boolean conversion takes place when using logical operators, ternary operators. If statement and loop checks to understand Boolean conversion is in if statement operators, we need to understand truthy and falsy values. Truthy values are those which will be converted to true. False values are those which will be converted to false. All values except false, 0, 0 and minus 0, null, undefined, and nan are truthy values. Okay, these are some truthy values. If statement example, x0 y23, if x is console.log x, this code inside the block will not run since the value of x is 0, falsy value. So all these are falsy value. False, 0, undefined, null, these are falsy values. If y is console.log n, then this will work and return that. Logical operators in JavaScript, unlike operators in the programming language, do not return true or false. They always return one of the operands. Okay, in the that's very different. Like in the JavaScript, logical operators do not return 0 and 1, because every in the language in C++ they will return just the true or false when you are checking for the logical operators. But in this case it returns one of the operands that are checking. Like in this example, you have OR operator. If the first value is truthy, then the first value is returned. Otherwise, always the second value gets returned. Okay, that's how it is. In this, what it tells us that if you checked using OR loop two values, if first is truthy, then you will directly return the value is the truthy value, and if it is not truthy, then we will return if it is false or not false, the second value. And in the AND operator, if both the values are truthy, okay, like this similar OR operator, if both the values are truthy, always the second value is returned. If first value is falsy, then the first value is returned, or if the second value is falsy, then the second value is returned. Now check the examples. Like here we have x is 220, y is hello, and z is undefined. So now you're checking x double or y. What does that mean? Returns 220 since the first value is truthy. Okay, it just returns the 220 because it is a truthy value. And in the OR section, just you do just this thing. And in the again the OR loop, the xg is also two thing, and 220 is a truthy value, then just return 220. And x and y, now comes the x and y. And what do you check? If you check if both the values are true, if both the values are truthy, first you check both the values, always the second value, always the second value is returned. If the first value is falsy, then the first value is returned, or if the second value is falsy, then the second value is returned. The value returned on the basis of what on the falsy values. Like if the both values are true, then just return the second value, and if the value is falsy, first value is falsy, then just return the false value of whichever the false value is. Like in this case, x and y is 220 is valid, hello is also valid, but in this case the second value is printed, like hello is the answer, and y and the AND operator, and Z. Y and Z. Y is hello and Z is undefined. Undefined, what is undefined? Undefined is a false value. Hello is truthy value. So what do you return? The false value. Whichever the false value, you will return that. So you will return the Z, undefined. And in this case, if X and Y and operator Y, what does that mean? X and Y both are the truthy value. And so what does that mean? If both are the truthy value, then you can done the hello one. You can return the hello. So console.log code runs. This block runs because X and Y returns hello. Hello is a truthy value. If x uh, x over with Z, X is 220 and you are doing the OR, that means you will be going with the 220, and it is also a truthy value. So this block also run, that is a truthy value for again. And equation cohesion takes place when using double equal to operator, as we have stated that the double equal to operator compares values and not types. While the above statement is a simple way to explain double operator, it's not completely true. The reality is that while using the double operator, cohesion takes place. The cohesion operator converts both the operands to the same type and then compares them. Example: variable A is 12, B is 12. So this checks and return true. That means the same type, then compared means the operands are equal. So you can also check that. Cohesion does not takes place when using the triple equal to operator. Both operands are not converted to the same type in the same case of operator. Okay, cohesion does not takes place when using the triple to operator. Both operand, yeah, we know that they are not similar. Okay, the next question: is JavaScript a statically typed or dynamically typed language? This question can be asked. So, what is that? JavaScript is dynamically typed language. That is quite interesting. So what happened that my skin is stuck at one position and I didn't notice until now. I think it's from for 1 hour, complete 1 hour, and now I think this should be okay. Now I think it is fine. Well, let's start with that and this. I guess it is not that much of a voice. Let's turn it down a little. And is JavaScript a statically typed or a dynamically typed language? JavaScript is a dynamically typed language. In a dynamically typed language, the type of a variable is checked. The type of a variable is checked during runtime. In contrast to a statically typed language where the type of variable is checked during compile time. Okay. Static typing means you have given the string name John, and name is 34. Uh, Variables have types. Values have types as well. Variables have types. Values have types. Variable cannot change type. Okay, we have defined as a string, but we didn't. We did. We we assigned a number value to the name, so this is not correct. In the static typing it is not correct, so it will give an error at the runtime. But in the case of dynamic typing, variable name, you have declared variable as a name, and uh, in this you were typing like you have to, you're giving the yeah now I understand that the in the static typing, like statically typed languages, you are defining or giving the variable uh, variable names, like which kind of data type you are using. Then you are writing the string name as according to this, so it will be checking at every point. But in the case of dynamic typing, it will check at the runtime, because you you don't give value. Explain passed by value and passed by reference. In JavaScript, primitive data types are passed by value, and non-primitive data types are passed by reference. For understanding passed by value and passed by reference, we need to understand what happens when we create a variable and assigned a value to it. Okay, we have created a variable x, that is 2 assigned. The value is assigned 2. In the above example, we created a variable x and assigned it a value of 2. In the background, the assign operator allocates some space in the memory, store the value 2, and returns the location of the allocated memory space. Therefore, the variable x in the above code points to the location of the memory space instead of pointing to the value of 2 directly. Assign operator behaves differently when dealing with primitive and non-primitive data types. Assign operator dealing with primitive types, like example, you have a as a primitive value, b copy of primitive value, b assigned a would pass to a function by value. That's how we are getting the pass by value, where y is equals to 234, where z is equals to y. But in case of this, you are the variable z is a copy of y. So in this example, it is not pointing to the memory. Z do not point to the memory of y. Okay, so in the above example, the assign operator knows that the value assigned to y is a primitive type, number type in this case. So when the second line code executes where the value of y is assigned to z, the assign operator takes the value of y 234 and allocates unused space in the memory and returns the address. Therefore, value z is not pointing to the location of variable y. Instead it is pointed to the, okay, so it is pointed to the new location, it creates a new location. Okay, variable y is has here we have hashtag hash 8454, y pointing to the address of the file 234. Okay, where z is equals to y, where z is equals to 4, so it is pointing to the new memory that is created to store the address of this memory. Z pointing to the completely new address to the value 234, changing the value of y is 23. Now console log z return 234 since z is points to a new memory address, so change in y is not affected. From the above example we can see that primitive data types when passed to another variable are passed by value instead of just assigning the same address to another variable. The value is passed and new space of memory is created. Assign operator dealing with non-primitive data types. Like in this example we have non-primitive data type like array, object, these, and in this case or passed to a function by reference by value. And by reference, what does that mean? You have created a object obj that have the object literal name Vivek, surname Bist. Okay, and you have now created a second object and you have copied one object assigned obj to obj2. In the example, the assign operator directly passes the location of the variable obj to the new variable obj2. In other words, the reference of variable obj is passed to the variable obj2. Okay, now you have the like memory 87114 obj1, obj pointing to address of 1, that is this object, and where obj2 is obj that is pointing to this memory, the memory of this obj, where obj2 is 8711, obj2 pointing to the same address. Okay, now we have the same address. In the case of the non-primitive data type, the the value is assigned by value by reference, passed by reference, passed by value. Now we do the object would name, that is do we have changed it, changing the value of obj1. Okay, now we are changing the value of obj. Okay, now in case of the pass by reference, all the values are changed, even the memory. So if anyone will get that this also same as changed values. Return name, a key surname base, the since both variables are pointing to the same address. From the above example we can see that while passing non-primitive data types, the assign operator directly passes the address reference. Therefore non-primitive data types are always passed by reference. What is the immediately invoked function in JavaScript? Immediately invoked functions. What is an immediately invoked function in JavaScript? An immediately invoked function known as IIFE and pronounced as IIFY is a function that runs as soon as it is defined. Immediately invoked function, an immediately invoked function known as IIFE and pronounced as IIFE is a function that runs as soon as it is defined. Okay, now you have this function do something. To understand IIFE, we need to understand the two sets of parentheses that are added while creating an IIFE. Okay, the first set of parentheses, okay, that's how the immediately invoked function defined. Parenthesis outside the function, then you will define the function and all the things are similar. You just have to create a another parenthesis before initializing or creating any function. While executing JavaScript code, whenever the compiler sees the word function, it assumes that we are declaring a function in the code. Therefore, we do not use the first set of parentheses. The compiler throws an error because it thinks we are declaring a function, and by the syntax of declaring a function should always have a name. Okay, function do something. Compiler gives an error since the syntax of declaring a function is wrong in the code above. To remove this error, we add the first set of parentheses that tells the compiler that the function is not a function declaration, instead it's a function expression. The function set of parentheses function. Okay, from the declaration of if, we know that our code should run as soon as it's defined. A function run only when it is invoked. If we do not invoke the function declaration is returned. Returns the function declaration. Therefore, to invoke the function, we use the second set of parentheses. Okay. Uh, what do you mean by strict mode in JavaScript and characteristics of JavaScript strict mode? Like in the JavaScript mode, when you type the use strict, that means you will not uh, the hosting thing will not work. Everything works as they have this, assigned or initialized in the program. In ECMAScript 5, a new feature called JavaScript strict mode allows you to write a code or a function in a strict operational environment. In most cases, this language is not particularly severe when it comes to throwing errors. In a strict mode, however, all forms of error, including silent error, will be thrown. As a result, debugging becomes a lot simpler, thus programmers' chances of making an error are lowered. Characteristics of strict mode in JavaScript: duplicate arguments are not allowed by developers. Okay, duplicate arguments are not allowed by developers. In a strict mode, you won't be able to use the JavaScript keyword as a parameter or a function name. The use strict keyword is used to define strict mode at the start of the script. The strict mode is supported by all browsers. Engineer will not be allowed to create a global variable in the strict mode. Explain higher order function in JavaScript. Higher order, HOF, functions that operate on other functions, either by taking them as argument or by returning them, are called the higher order function. Higher order function are as a result of function being first class citizens in the JavaScript. Example of higher order function, like in this example, you have the one function that is higher order, and you are also calling you are giving a function as a parameter, that this is a higher order function. Like this is also a function, but in case higher order function, and you also defining a higher order function, that is console log hello world. Function higher order 2. In this function, you have return the function, and as well as the return, and as well as the parameter passing the functions are also known as the higher order function. Explain this keyword. This keyword refers to the object that the function is a property of. The value of this keyword will always depend on the object that is invoking the function. The value of this keyword will always depend on the object that is invoking the function. Okay. Object that is invoking the function. The keyword is refers to the object that the function is property of. Confused? Let's understand the above statement example. Function do something. Now you have console.log this. So what will return? Do something. Okay, now you have called the function. What do you think the output of the code will be? Note, observe the line where we are invoking the function. Check the definition again. To this keyword refers to the object. This keyword refers to the object that the function is a property of. In this above code, the function is a property of this which object? This object, the function. Since the function is invoked in the global context, the function is property of the global object. Okay. Therefore, the output of the above code will be global object. Since we ran the above code inside the browser, the global object is the window object. The global object is a window object. Okay, now the second example. Now you have defined another object. So the object, the block of that object is like where uh, this can be what do you call the this keyword refers to the object that function is. This keyword refers to, okay, the value of this will be in this, like name. This store name is Vivek. Now you are calling the object get name. In this above code, at the time of invocation, uh, invocation, first the thing is you will be returning consoling. You will be getting get name, object dot get name, as well as, okay, get name. You are creating a constructor. In the code, at the time of invocation, the get name function is a property of the object obj. Therefore, this keyword will be referred to the object obj. Then, hence, the output will be big. Example 3, that is also example 3, get name function console.log this door name, and where get name object dot name array. Okay, so here we have declared the object 2, and object 2 is get name as well. So, and object get name obj dot get name. So here we are also taking the values of this as a this function is called. Can you get the output here? That is, the output will be Akshay. And how? Although the getName function is declared inside the object obj at the time of invocation, getName is a property of object obj2. Therefore, this keyword will refer to obj2. This silly way to understand that this keyword is whenever the function is invoked, check the object before the dot. Check the object before the dot. The value of this keyword will always be the object before the dot. If there is no object before the dot, like in example 1, the value of this keyword will be the global object. Global object. Example 4, address Mumbai, India. Get address function console.log this dot address. Where get address, you are getting the address from this object 1, and you have this as well. Where object 2 name action, then the object will be, the output will be error. Although in the code above, this keyword refers to the object obj2. Obj2 does not have the property address, hence the get address function throws an error, because although the code above, this keyword refers to the object obj2. Obj2 does not have the property address. Why it is object2 address? Because you have not you have got the get address in get address, and obj2 name Akshay, but you have not decided given the anything in the object 2, because you are getting the get address 1, but you haven't assigned the value in the object 2. You just got the get address in object 1 and get address. What do you mean by self-invoking function? Without being requested without being requested, a self-invoking expression is automatically invoked, initiated if a function expression is followed by this parenthesis. It will execute automatically. A function declaration cannot be invoked by itself. Normally, we declare a function and call it. However, an anonymous function may be used to run a function automatically when it is described and will not be called again. There is no name for this kind of function. Okay. Explain call, apply, and bind methods. explain call, apply, and bind methods. It is a predefined method in JavaScript. This method invokes a method function by specifying the owner object. Like in this example, you have a function that tells that say hello, return hello plus this name. Variable object name is Sandy. Say hello dot call obj return hello Sandy. And what is this hello function to call function to? Call method allows an object to see use the method function of another object. Okay, call method allows an object to use the method function of another object. Okay, you can okay. So call is can use the method of another function. Like in this hello, this function can be used in this object. Example 2, uh, you have an object where person age 23 get age 50 function return this age. Now we have where person 2 age is 54 person dot get age is call dot call person 2 return 54 because we have person 2 as a 54 and this and the what is that function the object called person dot get age person dot get age function. What is the get age function return this age and what is the age that you have inside in version 2 that is 54. Call accept arguments function say something message return this. Now comes the apply. The apply method is similar to call method. The only difference is that call method takes arguments separately, whereas apply method takes argument as an array. Okay, that means tagging separately, but in this case as an array. You have to remember the array in the case of apply method. Call, apply, and binds.